Welcome to Toward Today Ministries. My name is Grant Luton.
And I'm Robin.
And we are here for a very special edition of Breadcrumbs,
Right.
which we call Cookie Crumbs.
Yeah, a little sweeter version of Breadcrumbs where we talk about bits and pieces of bigger subjects. And today we have three very special guests.
Yes, so three lovely young ladies and who have become very good friends of ours. I want to start with the one that I've known the longest. So Elianah, tell us your full name and a little bit about yourself, please.
Okay, hello, I am Elianah MacArthur. I am 17 years old and I'm going to be a senior, and I enjoy playing chess and playing cards and hanging out with my friends.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about where you were born, Elianah.
Yeah, of course. So I was born in China. I don't really remember where exactly in China, but I was from China, and then my mom adopted me in 2010 on April 11th, and so that's my adoption day. And she brought me over, and she was always praying for a little Chinese baby, and here I am.
There you are, but not a little Chinese baby anymore.
No,
You're
not
a beautiful
anymore.
young woman, yes.
Not anymore.
I remember, I could speak for Robin too. I remember the day that your mother, Kim, hi Kim, she's sitting over there listening, brought you home, and everybody in our congregation just wanted to become your aunt and uncle. And it's been a joy watching you grow up and blossom into this lovely young woman you've become. But I want you to tell us when you first met the two young ladies to your left. When did
Okay.
you meet them?
So my mom has always dreamed of going to New Zealand, and so we went to New Zealand and we found some other believers there. So
Yes.
this is Sarah and Beulah.
Yeah.
They'll speak a little later.
Okay.
but yeah.
All right. Well, Sarah, so your sisters. So Sarah, give us your full name and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Sarah Barry, and I like reading, and I don't know.
How old are you, Sarah?
I'm 13.
Okay, so
Just
you're the
turned
youngest
13.
Yeah.
of how many?
Oh, we're a family of 6, so my brothers and my sister, so we're all 4.
So do you like being the baby of the family?
I don't know. It has its goods and bads.
Okay. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about both later.
Does she get away with more stuff, Beulah?
Oh,
yeah. Okay. Well, when you said you like to read, you could have said that 2 or 3 times because I always see you with your face in a book. And when I visited you all in New Zealand back in November, we could not pass a bookstore. I have to stop. Your mom and dad were great. We'd pull in and we'd all go bookstore shopping. That was a great time. So keep reading. That's a great thing to do. And Beulah, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a reader too.
Hi, my name is Beulah Barry. I'm 16 years old, and I do enjoy reading too. I enjoy playing music and playing on my violin.
Yeah,
And-
we enjoy it too.
Yes.
I love playing with other people too. I enjoy reading historical fiction, so that's probably my favorite topic,
Yeah.
reading.
Oh, that's great. Well, Robin, where do we start here?
I just want to start by expressing how much I wish that our listeners could actually see the three young
Yes.
women, because you three may not realize it, but you really stand out. You stand out in any crowd because you're pretty, but your prettiness and your beauty is something that is not just on the surface. And something I can say about all of you is that you carry yourself with a grace and a confidence that isn't necessarily typical for young ladies your age. And I love that. And I think that a lot of other girls would love to know the secret. Maybe that can surface as we talk in the next few minutes. So let's start with you, Elianah. You are so much fun to have in any study group. I have a group of ladies that meet here regularly, and you're probably our youngest member, but certainly not the least significant, because you always come bubbling with questions and comments, and you always have so much to add to any conversation. And I think you've brought a few questions along. We told you there's no real rule about what we can discuss today, so you want to start us out with what's on your mind?
Yeah. So my first question is, how do you know that it's God's voice in your brain and not like yourself and like what you want earthly? How do you know it's God telling you what to do and leading you?
Ooh. So what you're kind of asking is, when you hear different voices, which we all do, don't we? And how do we know and recognize the voice that is trustworthy and true?
Yeah.
It's a great question. I told you guys, I warned you about Elianah. She doesn't mess around.
You know, that's a question I get asked quite often. And one of the ways you can tell the difference is practice. Practice. Because it becomes pretty obvious when the voice you're listening to is not God's voice, because things go south pretty quick. And there's a passage in Hebrews, I wish I could put my finger on it right away, but it talks about people who by reason of use have learned to discern right from wrong. Here it is, I think I found it. Yes, it's in Hebrews chapter 5. And it's talking about people who feed on meat and people who feed on milk spiritually. In other words, people who work at the word, they chew it. And they have to, you know, kosher animals chew their cud. They swallow it and they bring it and they think about it and chew it some more and swallow it. People who really study the word are doing that. But milk drinkers, it just goes down and it's over. And we are to be people who consume the meat of God's word. So to discern between God's voice and our own voice or the enemy's voice, we need to really know God's word. Because you get to recognize what God sounds like by reading this. And when he speaks to us, you think, I recognize that voice, because that's what I hear here. But this is what it says: for everyone who partakes only of milk is not accustomed to the word of righteousness, for he is an infant. But solid food is for the mature, who, because of practice, have their senses trained to discern good and evil. Okay? So their senses become trained. Here's some really practical advice, though. If it's something I really want to do, it's probably not God's voice. Because my voice is louder than his, believe it or not. There's only one place I can think of where he speaks loudly in the word, and that's at Mount Sinai. And that was a one-time event.
Can I bring clarity to that?
Yes,
because are you saying that if it's something that gives you pleasure or you desire, that it's wrong?
No. What it is if I'm trying to decide if I should do something or not do something.
But you already have a preconceived... Okay.
But it's something I really want. If it's one of those things, I really hope God says this, then it may be my voice, because...
You're not neutral.
I'm not neutral. If you want to know God's voice, want him to speak to you, you have to decide this. Father, if you want me to do A, I'll do A. If you want me to do B, I'll do B. Whatever you want, I'll do it. You have to put your will in that neutral position. Because if you're really hoping he says A, then you're stacking the deck against you to hear his voice, because you're already invested in hoping this is it. And we have to be very careful of that. And you can say, Father, I really hope you say A, but I'm putting my will in neutral. If you say B, I'll do B. And if you say something else, I'll do that. I will do what you want me to do. So that's really important.
Elianah, does that...
There's one other thing.
Okay.
That this is probably the most important thing. When the enemy talks to us, he's very urgent. You got to do it. You got to go. You panic. You know, it's time to, if you don't do it, you're all going to die.
He's insistent.
Yes.
You know, and he's pushy. And you feel like really afraid and pressured.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways I know.
Well, you know, we talked about God speaking from Mount Sinai. Well, he spoke from Mount Sinai twice. The first time was to the mixed multitude before the mountain, and I mean, the world shook. And there was like an earthquake, and this loud voice kept getting louder and louder. It's terrifying. But you find another event when Elijah fled from the priest of Baal after the showdown.
Do you remember, girls?
He went to Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
And then says there was a wind, wasn't in the wind. There was fire, God was in the fire. There was an earthquake, God was in the earthquake. And then it says there was a cold demoma daka. There was a thin whisper. And Elijah said, that's where he's at.
Kind of calm.
So that's the other time he spoke from Mount Sinai. I find that God's voice is very easy to ignore. It's just a thin whisper. You can take it or leave it. He doesn't push. but the enemy's pushing.
But when I lean into that thin whisper, I feel hopeful.
Yes.
That's another sign. But what I wanted to ask you, Elianah, is does the answer that we've offered or the conversation we've had prompt any further questions about that? What would you answer to that?
No, not really.
Does it help?
Yeah, I think it helps. It kind of leads to another question I have though.
Okay.
And it's like, how do you balance your faith in the modern world? Like, for example, Friday at my school we have football games. I want to go to the football games, but it's Friday night, and I try to keep that like separate. And so like my brain tells me to go like to the football game, and I know God's telling me to probably like don't do it. Go home, pray with Him. So how do I balance my time with God with also like my friends when I want to socialize and be out?
Well, God is so gracious. He gives you 6 days to do your work and to do the things you want to do with your friends. But He says, this one day is mine. Guard it. Guard it. And so the decision's already made for you. And remember that everything has a price attached to it. So if you decide to keep the Sabbath, keep God's commandment, there's going to be a cost to pay. And if you decide not to keep the Sabbath, there's a higher cost to pay. So the question is, you want to pay a really high cost to not keep the Sabbath, or you want to pay a low cost to keep it? And it's going to be something that's an investment in this kingdom, an investment in your own soul, something that's going to bring rich rewards and great protection to you.
That's where I was going, because the reward is such an internal and eternal thing. But it's hard to appreciate that when you're in high school and you want to hang out with your friends on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes there's creative ways to be able, you know, go hang out when the sun sets, maybe invite a girlfriend over for snacks and time together. And there are ways, Elianah, and all of us will spend the rest of our life making choices, but He isn't up there waiting for us to make the wrong choice so He can smack us like a fly. He's wooing us into a relationship, and He wants us to be set apart, not only so the world sees that there's a cool way to live,
That's right.
but so that we experience the best for ourselves. And I don't want to sound like a religious prude, but really it's true.
But when you do keep the Sabbath and you say no to the world and even to friends who might even mock you, make fun of you, and not understand you, one of the things that will happen, you become a leader of those friends.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
You are the person they will come to with respect and want to know what they should do, and they'll want your advice because they realize you are a person of character.
Yeah.
When you follow the world, what have you accomplished? Nothing. But when you follow God, there's just great reward, incredible great reward.
For those of you listening who might not understand, Elianah's family, as well as Sarah and Beulah's, have all chosen a path and a journey to be observant to what God has said in His Word, even in the beginning of the book. And the Torah itself invites us to be set apart and to guard His Sabbath and rest and delight in it. And I think the key word is delight, not to sit and mope and feel like we're missing out because the rest of the world is having more fun. And sometimes that takes some creativity, doesn't it? And some courage. Creativity and courage. Do either of you have anything to say about that subject? It's probably come up for you as well.
Yeah.
How you have to decide between observing the Sabbath and guarding it and doing what maybe some of the other people you know your age are doing.
Yeah, there's definitely been times where we've had to choose to stick to the Sabbath and say no to temptation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Does it set you up to, I mean, then there's those voices that Elianah brought up, because one voice could tell you to be resentful of your parents because maybe they're holding you back from your best life. Is that a temptation to think that sometimes?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would.
Yeah. I mean, we grow up thinking our parents are the fun police.
Yeah.
Not too much fun. You can't have too much fun. And
Yeah.
but the thing is, God is the author of fun.
Yeah.
Every pleasure in the world was created by Him.
Yeah.
And He gives us rules to follow, not to reduce our fun, but to maximize
Yeah.
our pleasure, our enjoyment, and the length in our lives.
Yeah.
So we can
Quality.
enjoy life
Yeah.
longer than we normally would. So he's all for us enjoying his creation and enjoying things in the right way, in the best way, and in a way we won't have guilt for later. And so anyways, yeah,
So
you never go wrong.
This brings up a subject I was thinking about a lot this week, and that's friendship. Because choosing friendships, the close ones, the few really close people, you know what? Well, first of all, I want to ask you girls, what would you say makes for a friend that you let in and you become close enough to spend a lot of time and trust your heart to? What kind of characteristics would you look for in another girl at this point? Because it's kind of dangerous to try to be close, intimate, emotional friends with a guy. It usually gets complicated. So for other girls, what would you say, Beulah? Any thoughts?
I have a dear friend that's she's what I found in her is that she's got such the joy of the Lord is her strength. And you can just see the joy oozing out of her. And that's for me, you don't really see that nowadays.
You're attracted
Especially,
to
yeah,
that.
I'm very, very attracted to
And she's
that.
probably fun.
Yeah, she is.
I like friends who are fun.
And
to
I
be
know
with.
someone here too that's
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and Elianah, you're like that a lot. What do you look for in a good friend, El?
Yeah, I want someone who's fun, but also someone who's like not afraid to share their mind with me. Like I want to know what other people are thinking. I want them to like tell me their pet peeves because I don't want to hurt them.
You just want to know where you sit.
Well,
Yeah.
first you have to find a friend who thinks. And a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
Very few do. Most people are just followers
Yeah.
of others. You want to find people who think.
Yeah.
And then, but that's very good.
How about you, Sarah? Anything come to mind? Don't feel obligated, but I don't want to leave you out.
I mean, both of the answers are very good. I think very honest too.
Yeah.
Was very helpful. I don't know, if you're wearing a bad outfit, it's nice if they're honest.
You want them to tell you.
Yeah.
Really? I love that.
Because others see your blind spots.
Yeah, I love that. So you want friends who are honest and truthful and open and thinking and joyful. One of the things I realized about myself is that it's important to me that my close people are encouragers. Because to encourage means to give courage to.
Yeah.
To discourage means to take courage away from. And when I walk away from hanging out with a woman my age or younger or older, there are times that girls that I walk away feeling just kind of deflated and discouraged. And after several of those times, I'm like, maybe this isn't the very best person to spend quite as much time with. I need someone who gives me courage to be my best
Brings out
self.
the best. Yeah.
And that goes back to how you spend your time and whether you guard the Sabbath. And when you surround yourself with a few girls who encourage and give you courage to do the right thing, that is really helpful. Because those voices that are discouraging you, you just start to question everything and it just makes you kind of wobbly. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Agreed? How about you,
Yes,
Grant?
absolutely.
Do you agree?
Well, one of the things, you're all three so young, and you talk about my friends. There's a good chance that none of the people you call your friends now will be your friend 10, 20, 30, 50 years from now.
Yeah.
A person who goes through life and they have two really good friends have probably two more friends than most people ever do. Friends are very, very rare.
Yeah.
You have a lot of acquaintances. You have a lot of good time people, you know, you can rub elbows with and laugh with and do things with. But a real friend, that's extremely rare.
Yeah.
And when you think of Yeshua, think about it for a second. He had hundreds of followers, right? Out of those hundreds, he picked 12. He picked 12. One of those washed out. And then Peter, the rock, denied him and even cursed his name. And then when he got arrested and he's at the crucifixion, there's only one who stuck with him. That was John. There's only one there. Now his mom was there. And some of the women in the group had more courage than the men.
Yeah.
But out of those 12, Peter, James, and John were the three he always kept the closest. Now those three, John was the one, it says, who Yeshua loved.
So at this
They were the
age,
closest.
we're learning, you know, and we're meeting people, and you're finding out the kind of people that matter, and God will give you the people you need at each season of your life. He really will. So Grant's right, but the people that you choose to be close to now, they are your friends at this season, and they're important.
Mm-hmm.
They're important. Any other questions, Elianah? Is that?
I think that's like my big question.
Well, it's too
Beautiful.
bad our time is gone, so we're going to have to...
So feel free to speak to any
Yes,
other topics. But Sarah, what do you have on your mind today?
One question is, how do you know if you have a true relationship with God?
Do you have anything to speak to that initially?
I don't know. Just, is it like reading the Word daily, or I don't know, journaling,
Yeah.
talking?
So what
praying?
makes a relationship?
Yeah.
Because I think true is an important word in that question, but I think the word relationship is also really important. We've just been talking about friends.
Yeah, so that's the question I was going to ask. So think of someone you have a really close relationship with now.
What makes that different from just any regular person that you brush shoulders with? What do you share with people that you have relationships with?
You communicate with them.
Exactly. Yes. You talk to them and you listen to them.
Take
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you think of a good friend you talk to all the time. Are you always asking them for advice? You're just talking to them. You're just sharing life with them.
Yeah.
You care about the things they care about. They care about the things you care about. That's how it starts. And so when it comes to a relationship with God, I think sometimes we take it much more somberly and heavy, this heavy duty thing. And he's saying, lighten up.
Yeah, because he is our
Lighten up.
king, and we come to him with respect and awe, but
Mm-hmm.
he's also our father. And then Yeshua says, I want to call you friend.
Yes.
And so, like the conversation we just had, I think realizing that it doesn't have to be in a certain situation at a certain time that you address him as God or as
Yeah.
Adonai. You just call out to him and you chat with him throughout the day.
Ongoing conversation.
Ongoing,
all the time.
casual conversation. And then all of a sudden you'll hear that thin whisper and you're like, oh, he's
Yes. Yeah.
saying something to me.
Yeah.
And it just becomes a sweetly familiar thing. But don't feel discouraged, because you're at the age where you're developing the ability to understand friendship and relationship. You're doing great.
Yeah.
And it'll get better and clearer and more special with every year.
The fact that you asked that question tells me that you have a relationship with God,
That it matters.
that it matters to you.
Yeah. And honesty, I think what you said about friendship, Sarah, is a real key, because you said you want someone who's truthful.
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to be truthful with him.
Yeah.
Even if it means you saying, God, I'm not sure I feel your presence. Can you just help me figure it out and make yourself real to me and show me what you want me to do? Because it's his responsibility to respond to that kind of prayer. Don't be afraid to be honest with him.
That's right.
Yeah.
And always express gratitude. Always be grateful, because everything you have in your life comes from him. So if you want a relationship with your Creator, be grateful for what he's created. That's really the ABCs of starting this relationship.
Do you guys have girls in your life who every time you're with them, they're complaining? Do you have negative people? Maybe you don't. I do. And just everything's wrong. Just wham, wham, wham. And are they the people you feel comfortable drawing close to?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're with people and they're positive and they're truthful and they're open, it doesn't mean you can't share your heartache, but it means that they're not negative all the
That's
time.
right.
So be grateful.
But I can
before
tell
him.
you this for sure. I bet my life on this. God wants a relationship with you even more than you want one with him.
It matters to him so much.
He does.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to realize that, because I can't understand that. I don't like being with me most of the time. But he desires a relationship with us more than we could ever desire one with him.
It's hard to believe he
He's-
loves us as much as he does.
He's the lover of our souls. He loves you more than your mom and dad, more than your sister, than your brothers, than anybody you know. And until you can wrap your head around that, just pretend it's true. One man who I can't think of his name right now. He was an alcoholic his whole life, but he was a very devout believer. And he would go for a period of time. He'd write books. He would teach. But he's very open. I'm an alcoholic. I can't be around alcohol. And then something happened in his life, and he would fall off the wagon. He'd get drunk, and he'd just be out for months. And he'd come back and repent, and he'd ask people's forgiveness. And he'd get back on and get back to serving the Lord, which sounds so weird. It sounds so strange, but his whole life this was a struggle. But Brennan Manning, that was his name, Brennan Manning. He wrote a book called Ragamuffin Gospel, which is one of the most the biggest sellers in Christian publishing.
It gives hope.
They
to
made a
people.
movie about it. An incredible man of God, even though he had this monkey on his back. But he says, when we die, I believe the first question God will ask us is this: why did you ever doubt that I loved you? Isn't that something? Because when he wrote, you could tell he was writing off his brokenness. And he knew God's grace because he needed it, because he was such a failure in so many areas. But he really had a grasp on God's grace and love and goodness. And he fought with himself pretty much his whole life.
And you know, Sarah, I love your question. It's such an honest one. And one of the things I've started to practice in my own prayer time, believe it or not, and I'm sharing something really personal right now. I don't know that I've ever even said it out loud. But I imagine him saying my name. And I listen for it, and I imagine that he is, and then I know he is. And then I respond to him saying just my name to me, because he does. He calls you by name, and he sees who you are. He saw you before he even knit you together and put you in your family. And so when you start to really just realize that and be in that truth, you'll just start to enjoy that relationship. And it'll become that more and more, a relationship. It's all a journey, and
That's
he
right.
is so gracious and good. He's just so good.
Yes.
So
That's so good.
how about you, Beulah?
Yeah.
We have kind of left you out. You're
Yeah.
over there.
Everybody's questions are so good. Mine's kind of tilting to that too, like, because I read the Bible, but like, how do you meditate on God's word with a view to live it out daily?
Good question. Good question.
May I suggest, I know this is a very Christian thing we're always told, is find a way to apply this verse to your life. May I suggest you just read what he's saying
Yeah. Just take it in.
and chew on it and not say, what do I do with this verse? God's word, Torah tells us, it's bread, it's food. We're talking about meat and milk. And the Torah says, man does not live by food alone, but by everything that proceeds from the mouth of God. So every verse, every word here proceeds from his mouth. It's all of our food. Now, when you eat food, we're going to be having some pizza later. Now, when you take a bite of that pizza, you're going to be thinking, now, how do I apply this pizza to my body?
How do I make
this
pizza become part of my nutrition?
How do I make
Yes.
that pizza grow this fingernail a little longer and make my hair a little shiny? How do I do? You eat the pizza and enjoy it, and you swallow it and say, that was delicious, that was great. Your body will figure out what to do with it.
Yeah.
Put the word in. Just keep
Let
putting it in
your
and feed
soul
on it.
figure it out.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, there's some times you come to a commandment where God says, do this or don't do this.
It's like
Well,
eating your
there,
broccoli.
That's instructions. Yeah. That's right.
But then there's other bits. It's more like
There's the
chocolate ice
parts I
cream.
have to eat because I know this is good for me. But it's like, just feed on it.
Yeah.
And don't beat yourself up if you can't think of a practical application. So many times God is just saying, I just want you to have these pictures in your mind. Fill your mind with these pictures. So you have all these pictures in your mind, and then you come to a situation, one of those pictures will come up, you'll think, oh, that's a picture of what I'm going through right here. That's what I do. The tabernacle is an incredible picture album. And if we have the tabernacle and the details of the tabernacle in our minds, I can't tell you how often it seems like every situation I come to, or a counseling situation, the tabernacle, an image rises up, and that's exactly the answer, the template, the picture of what needs to be done or what this person needs to do to bring structure into their lives.
So just get those pictures of truth
just
that
feed
God has
on it.
given us.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
And here's another thing to keep in mind. I don't know how much birds enjoy eating seeds and worms or cows enjoy eating grass. It seems like being a cow would be really boring because you're eating grass all day long, every day. It's all you ever have is grass, unless the farmer gives you some other kind of feed. But for human beings, food is an art form.
It's a variety.
It's delicious. You can make bread. You can make all kinds of bread. You can make soup. You can make all kinds of soup. There's seasonings and there's all these ingredients, and food is an incredible industry in the world. And I love Chinese food. I love Indian food. I love Mexican food. I love American food. I can't think of any foods. What foods do I like? Oh yeah, Robin's rolling her eyes at me right now. Anyways, but food is to be enjoyed.
But here's the thing. Here's another little hint. I gave your sister a personal little hint that I've discovered recently. And here's one for you, Beulah. I try not to overeat, even spiritually, because it makes it harder for me to appreciate what I've eaten. So read less and just enjoy it more.
Yeah, chew it well.
A little bit each day, and just let it settle. Just sit in it and think about it and speak it back and share it with a friend, because eating with friends is fun. And there are times that I eat more. There may be a feast or a gathering or a celebration, but on a daily basis, I think we have to be careful about overeating to where we can kind of become obese and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we
Same
just
with
stuff
the-
our head with facts, Bible
Yeah.
facts.
And that doesn't help us. That doesn't help us. He compares our daily food to his word for a reason, and there's so much we can learn by that metaphor. It's really cool. So great question. Great question.
Yes.
We're all learning. Grant and I are figuring it out as well.
So the main thing is read the word every day, but the amount you read is up to you. You know, when they gathered manna, what does it say?
Enough.
At the end of the day, nobody had too much, nobody had too little.
Just enough.
How
for
does
you.
that work out?
Yeah.
How does that work? They all gathered a basket, but everyone was satisfied at the level they were.
Yeah.
And so some people have an appetite for more, some have an appetite for less. As long as it's giving you life and sustaining you, and like Robin said, you've got the right amount. So don't compare yourself to someone else who reads through the Bible every year.
Yeah. Feel
Or who
pressure
memorizes
to
chapters of scripture.
shove it in.
You
Yeah.
eat what's good for Beulah. Okay? And
And there'll be sometimes you're hungrier than others, and there'll be days you don't have as much of an appetite. It's okay.
Yeah.
Don't let guilt drive
no,
you. Right.
just eat every day.
yeah.
Just eat
Great
healthy.
question.
Mhm.
Anything
Yeah.
else on your mind?
How do we receive and keep peace and joy?
Keep peace with other people. Keep peace.
Or inner peace for
Inner
yourself?
peace, shalom. What do you think that word means, girls?
Like shalom?
Does it mean lack of conflict or lack of problems?
It's like perfection.
Completion.
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 Yeah, for sure. Kind of more along the lines of everything being where it belongs and knowing that even if there's a challenge going on, because often there is. But you know what I think it comes down to? Trust in what we were just talking about a minute ago, that he is good and that he does love you. When I know that, I have shalom. When I doubt that, I don't.
Yeah. I find the greatest thief of peace in people's lives is fear. And one of the things I'm always saying is fear is illegal for the believer. You're not allowed to be afraid. Because whatever it is you fear other than God, you have elevated to God's level. He tells us to fear him. Fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And it talks about how the fear of God is clean, how it's purifying. It's a wholesome thing to have. But when you fear something else, you've elevated it to God's place.
Have you girls ever heard that little FOMO, F-O-M-O?
Yeah.
What does that mean, Elianah?
Fear of missing out.
Don't you think that's a huge part of that voice? Going back to the beginning of the conversation.
Yes, good point.
The enemy comes and he speaks. How many of us waste opportunities because we engage in fear of missing out?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm so afraid I'm going to miss out on something good. Okay, all of a sudden we realize, hold on, is that a lie? So we have to take the thoughts captive and realize, is this truth or is this a lie? And to the degree, Beulah, I know that I'm believing the truth, I have peace. I really do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think for young ladies, you're probably, tell me if I'm wrong, your greatest fear is not finding the exact right guy.
Yep. That's one of my questions too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Sarah is kind of like not so sure. Well, she's
She'd
wants
rather
the next
just read
great
books.
book. But the
So,
thing is, does God want you to have the right guy?
yes.
Does he know who that right guy is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is he protecting him and making sure he's raised and yeah?
Will he bring you
So
across your
take-
path at just the right time?
But I've seen girls terrified. They're not going to marry. They're not going to get married, and as a result, invariably they marry the wrong one. They marry.
Yeah, you can't be fear driven.
Yeah, just realize, okay, Lord, you're going to bring this guy into my life at the right time. In the meantime, I am going to focus on being who I'm supposed to be, becoming the person you want me to be.
I'm glad you brought up the subject, Grant, because we got to spend a whole week with Sarah and Beulah when her family stayed with us recently, and it wasn't enough time, but it was a taste. And one of the things we got to chat about was how to know if a guy is even a candidate. And the two of you received some really good advice about that very thing recently. And I wondered if you'd be comfortable sharing that, because I think that advice that Steve's shared with you too would be so helpful to
Yes.
anybody listening, even people my age. They don't know this.
Yeah, for me, he shared about how men can to discern between a man and a boy.
And you want to look for a man.
Yeah, you
when
want a
it
man
comes
and not a
time.
boy, because there can be men on the outside, but they're still boys on the inside.
So how do you tell the difference, Beulah?
So men are givers
Givers
and boys are takers.
are takers.
Yeah, makes
Wow.
it pretty simple, doesn't it?
Doesn't that
Yeah.
bring clarity? And do you get that?
Yeah.
Did that ring true for you when
Yeah,
he
you
shared
can.
that?
Yes, I can sometimes discern. I can
Yeah.
discern now who's
Yes.
inside.
Yeah. Did this counselor and friend who shared this give you some practical ways to kind of recognize this, things to look for?
He also said how they treat their parents, and how they treat. Is the conversation constantly about them, or are they questioning
Yes.
you? They want to know more about you.
Right.
They're changing the conversation to you, not to themselves.
Right.
And also how they
Good
they
advice.
how they respond to like someone that's serving them at a restaurant.
Yes.
They're not treating them. They're treating them as equals. They're not treating
With
treating it with
respect.
respect.
And gratitude.
Yeah.
Wow, such good advice. I love that. What do you think about that advice, Elianah?
Yeah, I like that. I was also told by some other people, like agreeing that for a date, maybe not even a date, but if you go somewhere with a guy, try to make it like a restaurant where you're in contact with other people.
Oh, yes.
See how they treat others. See if they like open the door. See if they thank people if someone checks them out. Just like notice the small things. And to us, it's not like a super big thing now because we're like, oh, they forgot to thank the waitress.
But look for
like,
patterns.
Yeah, in the future, that's might be how he's gonna treat you eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Like he might not thank you or respect you in the future.
That's right.
Tell you what, kindness is so key to a person that you're going to spend your life with.
Well, we have a granddaughter who's now 12.
Yes.
And we'll be seeing her in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
What's the advice you've been giving her for years about the right guy?
For years. It's like, Maya, what matters when you pick a husband? And, oh, Grandma, I know. He has to be wise and he has to be kind. And I'll say, does it matter if he's cute? And she'll go, well, kind of. But then she'll say, but not as much as if he's wise and if he's kind.
Yeah.
And then we'll go down the list. Is he rich? Is he funny? Is he smart? He has to be wise. He has to be kind. And he has to be a giver.
Yeah.
He has to be a giver. Any
'Cause that's what
thoughts?
kindness
Any
is.
thoughts on that, Sarah? Did you appreciate that advice?
Yeah, I thought it was very helpful,
Yeah.
especially discerning.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you dismiss a guy who isn't mature and think he's not worth giving your attention to in terms of a friendship. But as far as a close relationship, you want to be very, very aware of that. I think that's just great advice for anybody, don't you, Grant?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a great wrap up for our conversation, unless any of the three of you have anything else you want to add. You good?
Nothing?
Wow. This
Well,
has been
was
so
easy.
fun.
This was fun. This was easy.
I know.
I thought they were going to ask some really hard questions. Well,
Well,
I'm glad you
they
didn't.
were great questions. Great questions. And
Absolutely.
I hope you guys have had as much fun as Grant and I have.
Yeah.
Just being together around this table today and sharing some sweet cookie crumbs with our listeners. And until next time then, right?
And now I just want to let the people at home know we're recording this in late June 2025. And so maybe next time these ladies are over here, we're talking, one of you will have a husband in tow.
Wouldn't that be
Wouldn't that be
something? Look at
something?
Sarah.
That'd
She's
be
rolling her
crazy.
eyes.
We'll do
Please.
a follow-up.
Well, we had one of these cookie crumb sessions months and months ago, and it's been too long. But, we look for the right guests, and you three have been
Yeah, it's
just
been
the
wonderful.
ideal guests. So
Yes.
thank you so much for your
Yeah.
willingness. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
next
having
week
us.
you all are heading down to Tennessee, then from there to Texas, and then from there you'll fly back
Yep.
to New Zealand. So
Right.
we just wish you have a blessed stay and a safe one.
Thank you.
And thanks to Mom and Dad over here for letting us have this time with your daughters. And Elianah, thank you so much. And thank you, Ken. And so thank you. So until next time, everybody, we wish you shalom and may God bless.
Thank you for joining us for today's teaching. If the work of Torah Today Ministries has touched your life, please consider making a donation or sponsoring an upcoming video. As a video sponsor, you'll have an exclusive opportunity to memorialize a family member, celebrate a special event, or simply support the ongoing creation of similar content. Your tax-deductible contribution helps ensure that our teachings continue to reach all who are longing for truth. Click the link or visit our website to learn more.